Well, hi, this is part two of things I've learned over my 10 years working with finance with dentists. The second most important thing that I've found for dentists in finance is to pay yourself first. Well, what's that mean? That means that every month you set aside a certain amount of money for savings. If you're young and just out of school, you may set aside that amount for paying off debt, but it needs to be significant. 20% is great. 10% is okay, but it won't get you to retirement before your mid to late 60s. 20% will get you there quite a bit earlier. And I do know dentists that have saved up to 40% of their income per year with actually normal-sized families. Anyway, pay yourself first. Set aside a certain amount per month, no matter what, that goes into savings. Here's an example. Mormons. I'm in Denver. I was in Albuquerque for a long time. Out west, there's a larger Mormon population, and they tithe. They pay the church first. 10% has to go to the church. Mormons tend to do very well financially, even if they have large families. Why? Because they learn how to budget. Yeah, this is actually about budgeting, but they have to figure out how to pay that 10% to the church. After that, it's a fairly simple process to figure out how much they're going to pay for their own selves and put away each month. So paying yourself first works wonderfully. What's the magic number? 20% if you can do it. Another thing that I've found is that dentists tend not to collaborate with their colleagues. That's one of the best things that you can do, is visit another dentist's office, even if he's next door. This brings about something I think is very important and was huge with me, and I think provides a big financial advantage over the long term. That's joining study clubs. Yes, there's Seattle study clubs and other national study clubs. Cosmetic groups are formed. Some of these can be expensive, but on a local level, oftentimes specialists will form study clubs. Yeah, they're to find referrals for them, but the content they provide, and often the members that are in the study clubs can provide, is really substantial. And that doesn't mean if it's a perio study club that you need to talk perio all the time. In these study clubs, often somebody that has a CIRAC will talk about the latest CIRAC advances and so forth. There's a study club in Albuquerque that basically was formed on the fly. Yeah, we just got a group of about 10 guys together. We brought in one each of the major specialties in dentistry to join in with the study club. They provided most of the lectures. We had orthodontics, we had perio, we had prosthodontics, and other members that were GPs often provided information. Study clubs are great. You provide pearls to each other. Actually, we talked about production, income, did some financial stuff with each other. They're a wonderful source of energy for you more than anything else. Another thing I've found is dentists tend to be very nice people, period. They're nice people, they get along well with people. You have to. You're working in an environment where people are scared all the time. Yeah, that can be nerve-wracking for them, and especially the dentist, but we tend to be very personable people. And take that into account as far as taking a chance on joining a study group, collaborating and visiting a friend downstairs or across the hall or across the street for lunch occasionally. You can learn a lot. Next, here's something else I've found. Dentists tend to love to buy second homes. And no, they don't normally rent them out. These can be extremely expensive for you guys. In fact, I'm going to read some notes here a little bit. I have a friend who's a colleague who bought a $1.2 million home in a mountain community for a second home. Well, let's look at the expenses. First of all, the mortgage that the doc has on it is $6,000 a month. Beyond that, maintenance for the home, upkeep, maintenance, and so forth, is actually about 4% of the home's value, which is fairly typical for a high-end home, especially if it's in a difficult climate area like the mountains. So he's paying like $48,000 a year just in maintenance and upgrades on the home, or 4%. So we add up the $6,000 a month, which is $72, $48, and then there's taxes and insurance. property insurance. That's another $12,000. Basically, he's paying $12,000 a month to have this home. Now, the home will appreciate over a period of time beyond inflation. Usually it's about 1%. With typical residential homes, it's about equal to inflation long term. So we take off that 1%, we're down to only $11,000 a month to have this home. $11,000 a month? How many days does the doctor spend there? Usually about 30 per year, and he's thinking, I'm going to spend more next year than I did this year. Anyway, it comes out to the doctor is spending somewhere between $3,000 and $4,000 a night to have this second home when he goes to visit it. A Ritz-Carlton suite with fancy dining every night with exotic wines is going to be cheaper than that. So be very wary of second homes unless you're going to rent them out when you're not there, or you're going to spend a lot of time. And finally, myself going into and being in retirement, I find out that something that's even more important than your savings is your health. So many guys my age, I'm 66, anywhere from 55 out to 70, they don't have to be doctors or dentists, are starting to have problems with L4, L5, and S1, lower back pain. Guys, this is no fun, and I'm dealing with it. I'm seeing my back doctor today, in fact. There's other health concerns also, and the medications that we're put on can make us drowsy, make bad decisions. Health is so important. How do you take care of yourself? You work out. I read a book, in fact I have a video on one called Younger Next Year, written several years ago by a fellow who works out and a doctor, telling us that if we work out 6 days a week with cardio half the time and weights half the time, we can perform at the same level athletically and actually with the same balance well into our 80s at the same level that we could at age 50. Again, you're able to perform well into your 80s at the same athletic level that you did in your 50s with proper exercise. They go into nutrition, obviously, also, but the major point is cardio seems to make a huge difference. Personally, I've had high cholesterol and was put on some statins, which makes me even dumber than I normally am, and have actually been doing hard cardio for a half hour, 6 times a week. My cholesterol has gone crazy. It's gone way down without any statins. So again, mind your health, mind your back, and you'll be much happier in retirement. Thanks for listening to these 2 videos.